I'm here with Brandon Burk, the artistic director of Onyx Theatre, and we're going to be talking about theater in Las Vegas and a whole bunch of other subjects. First of all, I'd like to thank you for being here, and thank you for agreeing to meet with me.
Of course, thank you.
You're welcome. My first question, what does your job as artistic director of the Onyx Theatre entail?
Well, right now, we don't have a theater manager. We're looking for a theater manager, so my job entails quite a bit. I mean, it's running the theater, it's selecting the season, it's directing a couple of shows a year and filling in where needed. It's doing marketing, it's doing booking, it's contracts, it's just about everything you could think of that needs to be done in a theater. I have one person that helps run our box office, and another staff member who mans concessions and also works at the store next door because we're owned by the same owner. But for the most part, that's it. And so it's...
And you have a job outside this place here, too.
I do. I maintain a day job as well, just to help pad the account a little bit. But yeah, it is. It's a busy schedule. I work a day shift in Henderson, and then I come here at night, and I'm directing a show right now, and just came out of directing a show, and it's a crazy schedule.
When you pick your season, what things do you look for as far as what shows you want to pick?
Yeah, well, when I first started a couple years ago here, we were trying to find a good balance, a healthy balance of well-known shows that people automatically flock to, because we don't have much of an advertising budget. So we try and get a couple of those shows in that have big names that people know that they just want to come see because, hey, that's my favorite show, or hey, I read that show in high school, or hey, I was in that show once, and so they'll come and see it. And try and balance that out with supporting original works and unique plays that aren't as well known. Over the summer, we're competing with Super Summer Theater, and they're not really competition, but that's where a lot of people are spending their money, and a lot of people go out to see Super Summer. It's a great, it really is. It's a great venue. It's a really fun atmosphere, and I think it's, if you haven't experienced it, everybody should. It's really a lot of fun. But people also go out of town, so our market is smaller, and so through the summer specifically, we're actually looking at just name brand shows. So we started the summer season with what did we do first? The Importance of Being Earnest, and then we went into The Graduate, and then we're going into Cabaret, and then Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and then Merrily We Roll Along, which is a Sondheim, not his best known work, but a Sondheim nonetheless. And then we'll go from there, and we haven't gotten much of our fall season in concrete yet, but we have some things in the works, and so we're mainly focusing on things that people know and trying to bring them into a unique space, and a space that you don't normally see big things done in. everybody says Cabaret would be perfect for here. Well, Cabaret's a big musical.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I've heard other things about it.
And I think, it'll be nice and intimate in this space, and I think it's going to work great, but it is not built for a space like this. The cast is huge. It's got a full band. We've reduced the orchestra down, and we have a 17-person cast, which is huge for a little space like this. So it'll be interesting squeezing all that in here, just like we did with Sweeney. Sweeney Todd had a 13-person cast and an orchestra, but we find ways to make it work, and I think that's our draw. Not only are we doing those shows that people want to see, that people know, that people love, but we're doing them in a unique way because of our environment, because we have to, and it forces us to be more creative. And it's people come to see, how are they going to do that in here?
Yeah,
and that's a lot of fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
What was your first? What is your background in theater, and what was your first experience where you realized you liked theater and performance?
Wow. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I've been doing theater as far back as I can remember. I was in a musical in 4th grade. That's the first, I think, full production that I remember doing. Then in my early teens, I think I played Artful Dodger in a community production of Oliver. And
I love that play.
Yeah, me too.
That's my favorite musical.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's a great show. It really is. It's tough to do with all those kids, but it's a good show. And then, I went to college in 2000, and I had gone away thinking, well, I'm going to be reasonable. Nobody makes a living in theater, very few people. So I went away my first semester as an English major, and thinking, I'd get a degree in English and get a teaching job somewhere, and I could teach theater somewhere at a high school or a college or whatever. And I spent my first semester there. I worked backstage on a production of HMS Pinafore, and just remember sitting backstage watching people out on stage and going, no, I can't do this. I have to be out there. I have to be doing this. I have to be creating. And so the next semester I came back as a theater major, and I went and I got my undergraduate degree there, and then came out to UNLV in 2007 or 2004, excuse me, and got my MFA in 2007 here in theater. And so that's my background. I've been doing shows and theater for over 20 years. I've traveled and created theater in other countries. I mean, it's just been an awesome experience. And so a lot of my experience in Vegas has been with the university, because I spent the 3 years there doing shows with the university with Nevada Conservatory Theater. And then I moved on to doing some coaching. When I got out, I found a sort of a home in speech work, in dialects and accents, and speech therapy. So I went into doing dialect coaching for some of the shows on the Strip, and I was the dialect coach for Spamalot at the Wind, and for some other shows around town at the Las Vegas Academy, at UNLV, and then worked for Hans Klock when he was here doing his magic show at Planet Hollywood, helping him with his English and things like that. So that helped me stay connected with theater while I was, trying to make some other money on the side, and that's just kept me connected throughout.
What was it like directing The Importance of Being Earnest?
So I try and pick shows, not just for various reasons. One, I want to pick a show that people are going to come see, that people know. And also, I want to pick a show that I think that I'll learn something from, that I'll grow from. Ernest, I've never directed a Wild before, and it was a challenge. You don't realize how unnatural that style can be for some actors, and so
it's farcical.
Yeah, exactly.
To a degree.
Yeah, and heightened. I mean, it's very. I don't like to use the phrase over the top. I don't like to use exaggerated, because I think these people live in a world that is real to them. Yeah. It's the situations that are exaggerated, that are over the top, and when you put these real people in those situations and they respond to it, they have to respond to it in a very natural way. Now, I think historically, Ernest and shows like Ernest, other Wild plays, have a tendency to be overly dramatic like that. Because we're in this space, I mean, if you were to play it like you're playing it at the ranch, it would just, it right over, it would be too high. Mm-hmm. And so it was a challenge to find, to make that style work in this little space, and to convey that to to the cast and get everybody on board. I mean, they were all so talented. And
Barbara King's amazing.
Barbara King was wonderful.
And Edgar Nunez, for how young he is.
Yep.
It's amazing.
And Edgar, this was his first comedy.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with how far along he came. And he was one of those guys, it seems like every time I hold auditions, I think to myself, how am I going to cast this role? Who am I going to get for this? And then somebody I don't know or have never seen or have never heard of just walks into the room, and I go, there it is. And Edgar was that for me. So
Yeah. Okay. I was speaking to one of the actors after the opening for Ernest, and they said that Brandon Burk is an actor's director. First of all, how does that make you feel? What is your reaction to that? And secondly, what is your approach to directing?
I like to keep it simple, and I like to tell the story. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that really means, what an actor's director is. My training is in acting. I try and approach actors the way I would like to be approached, and I guess that's how that comes across.
Yeah.
But as far as directing goes, I mean, telling the story. I'm not interested in beating people over the head with a concept. I'm not interested in bringing something to it that doesn't belong there. I want to tell the story that's in the script, and then make it work in this space with the actors I have in the circumstances that we're in, and I embrace all of the challenges that we have in this space and in this community and with the people that we're working with and with the audiences that we have, and just try and take all of that into. I'm not trying to turn a script into something that it's not. And that's one of my big things. That, and I hate blackouts. So if I can find a way to avoid blackouts in a show, I'll do that. Otherwise, my training's not in directing. So I'm just doing the best that I can in creating what I think I would like to see when I go to the theater, and create images and ideas and moments that would draw me in. So that's what I like to do.
I would think that being an actor would help you in directing as far as dealing with actors in that relationship. Absolutely,
in that regard. Now, not having any training in directing, is particularly when I went into Sweeney, I have a tendency to pick these really ambitious projects because I don't know any better. You know what I mean? Because as I don't know, I didn't know, especially then, what goes into everything that goes into it. I've always thought of it from the actor standpoint. I come in, I learn my lines, I do what the director tells me to do, and I go home. And then you get in and you think, oh, that's what a stage manager does. That's that you do need a props master, you do need a sound designer, you do need to, you know what I mean? And I've got some really great designers and really great people in this community who have helped me with those things, and they're the ones that bring this stuff to life. I mean, without David Sanker, who's designed the sets for the shows that I've done.
That last set was beautiful.
My goodness, he's incredible. And he knows how to work in a space like this. And I generally tend to, I like to know what my set's going to look like before I do anything else. And I rely heavily on my designers. I let them make most of the choices. In the end, I want to make sure that those choices support the overall idea that we're trying to convey, the story that we're trying to tell. But I give them a lot of leeway because, that's they're artists too. Yeah. And I ask those people to do those projects because they bring something to it that I can't.
Okay. What was your impression of the shows you saw at Fringe?
Fringe is a great thing. It really is. I applaud LVLT for organizing and keeping that going every year. I know it can't be easy. And it gives people the opportunity to come in and do original works and really unique works, and it brings a built-in audience to see those things. When you couldn't put some of that stuff in a main stage season, you wouldn't have an audience. And it's really great that they get the opportunity to do that and recognize shows and performers and directors for their work. I thought this year's Fringe, now this is actually the first time that I've been able to go see the Fringe.
This is the first time I went to.
Yeah.
Last year I went to see Mick Axelrod's 3 short plays, and I basically literally rolled into Fringe and like, oh, this is here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, and that's, I think given, they're drawing a large, the pool of talent, They have to cast a lot of actors. In a lot of shows, and when you direct one show here, how hard it is to find the right people to fill those roles when there's 10 other shows going on and everybody's cast in everything else, particularly in the summer, and everybody's out at the ranch doing Spamalot, doing Forum, doing all the guy heavy shows that they have going on out there this year. So finding guys to do shows is really tough. Yeah. Given what they're working with and the shows that they are able to put up over there, I think it's really great, and I'm impressed with a lot of it. Some of it, it misses, but that's the point. It's the Fringe. Yeah. That's where you get to try things out and see what works, and you don't get many other opportunities in this town because theaters can't afford to produce stuff like that. So,
Who are your favorite actors and actresses in town?
ooh, wow. Well, I adore, and I think this goes without saying because I've worked with her so many times, but I adore Kelly Wright, for one.
First time I ever saw her was in Sweeney Todd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And some of the people, there's so many actors who I haven't had a chance to work with in town who I'd love to, and who I've seen do wonderful things. But as far as people I have worked with, Edgar, of course, was great. Alex Olson, I just have to give him a little bit of credit. He is a beast. I mean, the kid is constantly doing 5 or 6 projects. I'm exaggerating a little, but he's constantly doing a bunch of stuff, and working, and going to school. And he is the first one to rehearsal. He's the first one off book. He's, in every project that he's doing, he's more dedicated. And it just, I really admire that. It's, there are some people in town who are naturally gifted, who come in and do a show, and just kind of wing it, and they get away with it, and they give great performances. There are people like Alex who come in, and Alex is talented and he is gifted, but he also works really hard, and that's the kind of actor or actress that I really appreciate. And I've worked with a handful. I've been really fortunate to work with a handful of folks like that in town, but since I just worked with him, Alex is the first one that comes to mind.
Okay. This is where it gets a little personal.
Mm-hmm.
I know your past, and I'm not sure where else knows about it, but what was prison like? Is it as worse as it as bad as the TV and the media makes it out to be?
No, it's not. I mean, the hard part, and I think to answer the first part of that question, I think I'm pretty transparent about my past, about my situation. I try to keep all of that on the surface because it helps me stay honest, and grounded, and remember what my focus should be. And so, as for the second part of the question about prison life, it's not as rough. I mean, there's a lot of things, and it depends on what prison you're in. And I was moved around a little bit. I spent the majority of my time at a minimum security camp in Carson City. I had a job at the governor's mansion. And as far as prison jobs go, that was a good job to have. I mean, I worked a lot of hours. I didn't spend a lot of time in the camp. Worked weekends, and so I was constantly busy, and that helped my time go by very quickly. But it doesn't change the fact that you're away from your loved ones, that you can't make the choices that you want to make, that you can't do the things that you want to do, and particularly for an artist or for anybody who is in a career that they're passionate about, you can't do the things that you're passionate about doing. And so I think that's the most difficult part about it. For an artist, not being able to express yourself the way that you yearn to, but I had it. I can't lie. I had it pretty good. I mean, as far as prison goes, all of that stuff aside, I mean, I can't really complain. People go to prison, with families on the outside, with kids and wives, and I was, fortunate that I didn't have any kids or a wife when I went away, and all kinds of family situations and people not supporting them on the outside, people giving up on them. My family is extremely supportive. People on the outside that I can stay in communication with have been extremely supportive, and I've had a great foundation, a great network to draw off of. And that made things a lot easier on me, I think. I'm really grateful for that. And that has everything to do with the people that are in my life and what I've learned from them and what I've learned from my parents and how to deal with situations like that and focus on the positive things and not the negative things. I could probably complain about a million things in prison, but there are a lot of things to be fortunate for too, and I think that's true in everybody's situation. We can always find things to focus on that are good, and that's how I tried to handle that situation. I don't like to spend a lot of time dealing with, I don't mind talking about it. I don't like spending a lot of time dealing with the negative aspects of it. I thought, given what I had done, given, what my, previous life was like and where I could have been or maybe should have been, I thought I was, blessed to be where I was and doing the things that I was doing. And that I still have the network that I have, and that, things definitely could have been worse. So.
Do you remember anything about that night that you had your accident?
Very little. I was in a show at the Rio. I was in Tony and Tina's wedding for a while, and I was supposed to go to a party that night. I remember that with a friend of mine who was working as a bevertainer there at the Rio, and he was gonna drive. I remember getting off and waiting for him to get off of work, and I was sitting there at the bar just pre-partying. In my mind, you think when you drink like that, when you're an alcoholic like that, you think the way you drink is normal, and I probably downed 6 Long Island iced teas, just getting myself in the mood for a party, and I don't remember anything after that. At some point, I must have decided that it was a good idea to wander to my car. I don't know why I didn't wait for my friend, and I ended up, I know just from police reports and whatnot, driving the wrong way on the highway and hitting another car head on. But no, I have little screen images. I remember the impact. I have little screenshots of crawling out of the car because it flipped over. There's little snippets, but I was blacked out. When I actually woke up, I was handcuffed to a hospital bed.
2 more questions about it, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't mind the questions.
Okay. Does it bother you if people look at you differently after they find out about what your accident happened?
I don't have any control over that. Certainly, I think everybody wants to be liked.
Yeah.
Everybody wants everybody to like them. I think people are entitled to their opinions about things. People who have lost loved ones to situations like this are absolutely entitled to feel the way that they may feel about me or about my situation. All I can do is, stay sober. Try and be a productive member of society and contribute positive things to the world. And if I continue doing those things, then I can feel good about where I'm at today and what I'm doing today. I can, have my regrets about the things that I've done in the past, but I can't change them. And so, all I can do is positive action and hope that people will change their minds. Certainly, it's not a happy thing for me. You know what I mean? I don't like when other people look at me in a negative light because of my situation, but I have earned that because of the choices that I made in the past, and I hope that through the actions that I make today, I earn something else.
Well, I don't drink hardly ever. If I do drink, it's like I'm at home with friends and I'm not going anywhere,
right.
Or I'm out and I know for a fact I have a ride, because I don't trust myself.
Right.
So if you were in a room full of people who thought it was okay to drink and drive, or said, I feel okay, I don't feel drunk, I can make it, or people who said, I'm going to go out and party and I can't party without drinking, what would you say to them?
That's a really tricky question. And it's tricky because, one, I know it's wrong to turn a blind eye to those situations, especially given my history. I think I know a little more, about that than I used to, and then that probably most people do. But I also have to put myself in that position. When I was drinking like that, was there anything that anybody could say to me to keep me from doing whatever I was going to do? And the answer to that is no. I was stubborn, and I thought that, if you had a problem with the way that I drank, you had the problem, not me. And that, it's a very selfish way of looking at it, and that's I think if somebody is an alcoholic, I mean that's how they see things, and there's no way to change that. You can't make somebody else. At least nobody could have made me see things the way that I see them now without me reaching what they refer to as a bottom, on my own. So, I think certainly I have the ability to speak up and say something, but I can't. I usually just will remove myself from a situation where that's a possibility. Unfortunately, I haven't had to deal with that much, but it's a really tricky.
Like, all my friends drink.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that doesn't.
Yeah.
So like when we do shots, they do shots of whatever they're gonna do, and I do shots of Coke. Like,
yeah.
That's Coke or Pepsi or whatever.
Yeah, I have found most people, and again, and maybe this is part of it, because I'm so open about my situation, and I don't like to make people uncomfortable, but because I'm so open about my situation and my history and my background, I have rarely found that anybody has been comfortable drinking to excess around me.
I could totally see that.
Right, and so usually when I'm out with friends and we're at a restaurant that happens to serve booze, and somebody orders a drink, they order one. And I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. I don't want to make people feel bad. I don't want people to change their habits and the way that they do things because of me. My past is my past. The way you drink is the way you drink. The way I drank is the way I drank. And that's, and I'm not going around calling anybody else an alcoholic. That's, you know what I mean? I can only point the finger one way. Yeah. But I think I have found that simply, being present somewhere has often led people to sort of curb their
yeah. I'm usually the DD when I go out with my friends.
Yeah.
What is your impression of the downtown product? Because I've heard people say it's a good thing, and I've heard people say it's too political. So I want to get your impression.
Whew. Well, I'll tell you, I live downtown. I live right on the outskirts of the Arts District, and I've seen a lot of positive ripple effect come my way as a result of the downtown project. I know there are some negative sides to it as far as people having to relocate, people not being able to stay in their homes, people's cost of living going up, and I don't know enough about that situation to have a valid argument about it. I think it's nice to see the increase in culture and in art, and at least that, not just the increase of it, but it become more prevalent, more important to downtown, and I like that downtown is being cleaned up in that respect. That my corner just got a bunch of new street lights, and it's nice and bright, and they just painted brand new bike lanes on my street, and I like all of that stuff. I know there are some negative aspects to it, and I don't know enough about them to argue about it, but I'm hoping that the positives outweigh the negatives. I mean, there's always an upside and a downside to every change. Yeah. But I'm a big promoter of it as it stands, being as ignorant as I am about the whole situation.
That's good answer.
Yeah.
What would you like to see happen in the theater scene in Las Vegas?
What would I like to see happen?
As a whole.
It's happening. I would like to see it happen more. I would like to see the community theaters support each other more, continue to support each other more. I know a few years ago, it seemed like all of the different theaters were very isolated, very cliquey. In the last few years, go ahead.
That's the whole reason why I started the magazine that I'm doing, because everything was there was a lot of culture, but it was very compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing their own thing, and it's not their fault.
Right.
They're just busy doing their own thing. Why I wanted to do what I wanted to do is because I wanted to help people and do more for each other. Because my thing was, if everybody helps everybody wins.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly right, especially with community theater. Actors aren't really getting paid. There might be a stipend here and there when the theaters can afford to do it. Musicians get a little bit of a stipend here and there. Designers get, we're given what we can, but we can't afford, we have to keep the doors open. The rent comes first here, and that's, the more we support each other, the less we spend on a production, the more we can, and this has started to happen, and I'm really grateful for this. We have a good relationship with Las Vegas Little Theater, with Nevada Conservatory Theater, with Las Vegas Academy, with Cockroach Theater. We exchange talent. We exchange designers and workers. We exchange props and scenery and lighting equipment. And if there's something that they're not using that we need, and vice versa, we're very free about exchanging those things, which helps us reduce the cost of putting on a show, which allows us to pull in more money, to keep our doors open, and to maybe distribute a little bit of that to the talent in town who devote all of that time and energy that they do to all of the productions. When an actor comes in this town, this is community theater, so this is not a vocation. They all have jobs, they all have lives, they all have school and personal things going on, and they devote their evenings for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks to a production, and then outside of that, learning their lines and practicing and getting ready for rehearsal and promoting a show. They do all of that for us. And there's not much that we are able to do for them in return, except occasionally throw a little, gas money their way. Yeah. And we would like to be able to do more. The more theaters in town help each other to keep the cost low and the advertising high, then the more we're able to do that for performers and designers.
Okay. Last question.
Yeah.
Again, I know you went over this again before, but what is coming up for Onyx Theatre?
So right now we're in The Graduate. We have 2 more shows left. Friday and Saturday, the 20th and 21st. And then we go into, so right after that, the weekend after, the Fat Pack will be here on Sunday. Do you know the Fat Pack?
I've never heard of it. I only saw it because I was on the website today.
Yeah, you got to check it out. These guys are incredible. They're 3 singers, very professional. They've all worked on the Strip and across the country doing professional theater. They're incredible, and they I don't know that they've ever worked in a theater this intimate. So it'll be really interesting to come and see them. They've got quite a following. They used to have a show downtown, and now they're sort of traveling around and touring and trying to find a new home. And they're here doing a fundraiser for us on Sunday the 29th at 2:00. And tickets are only $20, and it's a professional show. It's really, really good. Then 4th of July weekend we're off. The weekend after that we're doing 2 theater nerds and a keyboard, which is me and Carolyn Clark. We're putting on a concert, and we're accepting, up until that date, we're accepting requests for songs, and then we'll sing the songs that people request that evening.
I have to be here.
Please do. Tickets are only $10.
Carolyn.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's not just freakishly tall. She's freakishly talented, and she's one of my favorite people in the world. She's music directing Cabaret for me, which opens the following weekend. Incredible team, huge cast, and it's going to be a beast putting it in this little theater, but that's what we like to do here. So I'm excited about that production, and I think people have been wanting to see it here for a long time, so I'm glad to finally be doing that. Then we go into Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. That's Poor Richard's Players. And that's a 3-week run, and then we go into Merrily We Roll Along, which is off Strip again, and Cirque du Soleil is helping us fund that a little bit, so I'm excited about that project. Things are really moving along, and they're all big name shows, and we hope to continue that tradition into the fall. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, Mark.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, same.